All right, for today, you're going to be working on crossover questions, and the way we're going to approach that is through prose and poetry. Now, prose is just any sort of reading that you do that's basically not poetry or not lyrics. Prose is just a written word. So here's the way it works. It's a short answer question on the EOC question or on the EOC test, but it's really good for just short answers in general. The biggest difference between a crossover question and just a normal short answer is you have to have textual evidence from multiple sources. No big deal. You've done this before. It's just a little bit pickier, I guess. So just as a real quick review, for a single question, short answer, you have to answer it, you prove it with good evidence from the text, and then you explain it. And usually with pre-AP students, the trickiest part is it's not that you don't understand the question, it's not that you don't understand the passage. Sometimes it's tricky to find the correct textual evidence or the textual evidence that's going to support your answer. My best advice I can give you is, once you have a really good perceptive answer, not the stock answer that everybody's going to do, but one where you go, I totally get this piece, then go back, look through the passage again, maybe look at things that you highlighted or things that stood out to you, and find passages, or I'm sorry, a piece of textual evidence that really answers or supports your perceptive thoughts. I mean, and sometimes you're going to get more than one piece, and that's perfect because if you look below in the reminders, embedding your textual evidence is best. So you don't like just slap in a whole sentence. You just take, a chunk of the sentence. So like maybe the best part of that sentence, so like 5 of the words in that sentence or the phrase, and then you embed it with your own words. It just is so much smoother. And also notice that the highest scored answers usually have more than one piece of good textual evidence to support the answer. Now, to pass, you only have to have one. Okay, that's fine. But most of you are high achieving. You all are high achieving. But in order to get the best score, you're going to want to find multiple pieces of evidence. And frankly, if you've got a good perceptive answer that's accurate, you're going to be able to find more than one piece of textual evidence. And if you can't, maybe your answer isn't so hot. So just something to think about. So ideally, you put in more than one piece of textual evidence. Okay, so you've done these before. When you read the Cyclops, you had a question about showing his leadership, showing Odysseus' leadership. In the necklace, you had a short answer about whether or not she has changed, or what is ironic, I believe was a question. And so you've done these before. And last year, I know you've done short answers, or you did short answers. So we're going to just add a little bit to it. And this one's called the crossover. And it's not too difficult. It's just that you have to really pay attention when you do it. This isn't like one of those little sloppy short answers. I mean, you got to just really pay attention. With the crossover, you're going to get 2 different passages, and they're going to give you a question that's going to say, so how do you see this in both selections? Show how the narrator uses, both narrators change in both selections. Show how the theme of giving is evident in both selections. I mean, they're going to have something where you're going to connect 2 pieces of literature. Typically, it's going to be a piece of nonfiction with a piece of fiction, or a piece of prose with poetry, or with a play. So they're going to have 2 different types of literature that they're going to want to see, hey, are you smart enough to see how themes or characters can go across different types of literature? The reason why this is really important, the short answers are important. I mean, it's good to be able to see the themes across literature or across different types of text. But if you really want to get practical about it, it's a huge chunk of the final score for an EOC. It used to be just kind of a little, addition to the score, but now it's a pretty big old percentage. So you're going to want to take your time with these. So again, I mean, make sure that you are taking your time and you're getting textual evidence from both passages. So let me give you a little bit more details. This is the rubric for a crossover. With this one, if you look at the arrows, there are basically 3 things you have to do. You have to be, if you want to get that 3, which is in crossover world, that's the highest score. And those are difficult to get. A lot of pre-AP students kind of realm in this area. I'm hoping that you start here. Actually, it'd be really cool if you started here, but it's pretty typical to start here and go in this area in the one a little bit. But I'm all about you guys going and getting the best that you absolutely can. So we're going to focus on the three, on the biggie. So with this one, you have to be perceptive, which means you got to prove that, yes, you indeed understand both passages really well. Not just a little bit, but hey, I'm a good reader and I get this. And you answer the question to prove that, hey, I'm a good reader, I get this. And then you go back and you find textual evidence to support your awesome answer. Just make sure, again, that you're finding textual evidence that actually supports it. You can have more than one piece of textual evidence from both passages, but you are very constricted to your number of lines. You don't get a lot of space. So just keep that in mind when you're picking up your evidence. But again, if you have a good answer, you should be able to find multiple pieces of evidence to support it. And then you do the next step, which is you explain. You actually show how that textual evidence proves your answer. So you've got right here, you're being perceptive. It's crazy awesome. You have a coherent explanation showing that you get it from both selections. Notice it says text from both selections. It supports the idea. It's specific and well chosen. You can't pull the whole, in paragraph 4 in the first passage, you have to be super specific. End of story. I don't know how else to tell you. You just have to. And then this last part, for both selections, a combination of the idea and the text evidence demonstrates a deep understanding of the text. You're one of those kids that you read both passages, whether it was a piece of prose or poetry or a play. You understand it. You didn't need your Spark Notes to figure it out. You get it. And the passages that you're going to get on the EOC, I mean, all of you are perceptive enough to understand what they're about. So you're going to be fine. Okay, so that's how you get the top score. So if you are a formula kind of person, I mean, and some of you maybe on this first one want to stick only to this. And that's okay. I mean, you can loosen up a little bit as you get more comfortable with it. But a real safe way to answer this is you answer the question, you have proof from the first selection, you explain from the first selection, and then you have proof from the second selection, and then you explain the second selection. That's where you're going to get your real safe answer. And that's going to probably lead you into a safe 2. Now, to get to the safe 3, you're going to have to probably go a little bit more in depth in the explanations. But for this first one, this is a nice formula to follow. And you can do this up into the test. I mean, that's not going to be a problem. You're going to be doing this kind of a short answer next year on that test too. There is nothing wrong with this formula. I also just don't want you people who hate formulas to feel like you're stuck. For this one, you just might want to play my game and do this formula and we can go from there. But you have to have these elements. If you need to mix them up a little bit and do it in a different order, that's okay. But this is the real safe format. So answer, prove, explain, prove, explain. So I'm just going to give you a real quick sample. This looks like it got cut off just a little bit. This is from some passages I don't believe we read this year. You might have read them last year. But basically, the question is, what is one similarity between the boy in Jim at Bat and Billy Crystal in A Crystal Clear Love Affair? Explain your answer and support it with evidence from both selections. Okay, so a very generic question. So it's looking for one similarity between the boy and Billy Crystal. So 2 different passages. Now again, I know that you guys haven't read it, but sometimes you can look at samples and get an idea anyway. So we just want to know, hey, did they actually answer the question? Okay, we may not know if it's accurate because you haven't read the passages, but I'll kind of lead you through that. So we're looking for a similarity between the boy and Billy Crystal. So 2 different passages. So here's the first one. The uncles still love the game like they were little kids playing it. Billy still remembers the memories of him and his brother playing baseball when they were little kids. Billy said, I still feel the same way I did when I was a little boy. In the story, Jim at Bat, the uncles would wear their gloves they had since they were little kids. Now, without even reading the passages, you know that this kid can't get higher than a 1. I mean, there's textual evidence from one passage, but there's definitely not textual evidence from the second passage. The directions clearly state right here, explain your answer and support it with evidence from both passages or both selections. If you can't read the directions, you don't deserve to pass this one. That's a simple reading. So the answer to this one got a 0. It is not sufficient. It didn't even answer the question. And offers a similarity between Billy Crystal and the uncles, but the question requires students to provide a similarity between Billy Crystal and Jim. So it didn't even answer the question. So yes, you can get a 0. All right, another one. Both Billy and the boy and Jim at bat have such a love for the sport baseball. Jim, the young stressed boy, is frustrated with his hitting performance. He never gave up. He worked hard. It showed how much he loved the sport. Crystal from Crystal Clear Love Affair. You know what? I'm not even going to finish this one because look, you see any quotes? Nope. Answers the question, but didn't give any textual evidence. So sorry, don't get the pass. This one's pretty decent. One similarity between the boy and Jim at bat and Billy Crystal and Crystal Clear Love Affair is a passion for baseball. Decent. The boy from Jim at bat is determined to hit the ball, and he doesn't want the game to stop. Notice how it's embedded? That's pretty cool. So it's not just slapping a sentence in there, it's like mixing it with its own words. He loves baseball and has a great passion for the game. Billy Crystal, okay, here's an embedding. Billy Crystal would play the baseball in the summers from sunrise to sunset when he was a kid. Both boys were so passionate for the game. This is an area where they could probably explain a little bit more, but it's a pretty decent one. It got a 2, so that's pretty cool. Shows the similarities, but needs a little bit more explanation. But here's a 3. And notice, yes, there is a lot. One similarity between the boy and Billy Crystal is that they both were inspired and connected to baseball by family members. And Jim at bat, the ancient sing-song of ball players, the uncles were singing to the boy. He has never heard anything so beautiful. He does not want it to stop. This shows that the boy has inspired the uncles to keep trying to play baseball, even if he failed in so many times before. In Crystal Clear Love Affair, every time I'm sure I think of my father, I think of the way he got us to love it without saying love this. This shows that Billy Crystal's dad had greatly influenced his love for baseball by just taking him to a game. Crystal was so amazed at the sights and was inspired. The boy and Billy Crystal have been affected by their family members, whether being inspired by ball player songs, or going to baseball games. So they show the similarity by family members. The passion was made by family members for the game of baseball. And textual evidence, appropriate textual evidence from both passages. Notice even this, there's nothing wrong with doing this. This shows that, this shows that. You know, those are just ways to get you started. You don't have to do them forever. I mean, you can cut them off later, but that's a way for those of you guys who struggle with, oh, I don't know what to say after my quote. That will get you started on the right way. Okay, so it did get a 3. It uses strong evidence and it has a really strong connection, shows that they understand both passages thoroughly. And again, you don't know the passages, but I'm just letting you know, I mean, it's pretty darn accurate. Okay, so this is where you get a chance to try this out. You're going to get 2 selections. One will be a piece of prose and one will be a poem. You go ahead and you read both of those. With the poetry, try TP-Cast. Okay, get out your notes. You use them. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you don't understand the poem, try analyzing it. Okay, and then you answer the single selection short answer, just like with the answer, prove, explain. Again, use multiple pieces of textual evidence. If you have a really strong answer, you'll probably find several really strong quotes, but you don't have to use many, just at least one. Okay, then you go ahead and answer the crossover. There will be some highlighting I'm going to ask that you do. I want you to highlight your textual evidence in both the short or the single selection and the crossover. I am going to have you label it as well, so just kind of get ready for that. And then I'm going to ask that you turn in all of the materials. And if you have time after that, go ahead and complete your Credo poem. That's due on Friday into turnitin.com, but the instructions should be on our website just fine. Otherwise, I'll have a class set that you can look them over, and you can just ask Mr. Carlin for those. Turn in your Credo poem. Just make sure that you have everything highlighted or not highlighted, but color coded, so it's easily graded, so I understand that you know what the different the different literary terms mean. And then if you finish all of that, you go ahead and read and annotate chapters 6 through 10 of Animal Farm. That way you don't have to do it over Christmas break. And the last thing, please, 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 please remember, bring sweaters, sweatshirts, socks, and coats. We'll have the deadline will be Wednesday at 4 p.m. and we'll go from there. All right, thanks everybody, and I will talk to you soon.